Everybody. We are streaming live from day two at TechConSoCal, and I'm here with Alex Golod, who is a investor and technology executive. Alex, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Sure, my pleasure.
So, Alex, we're here at my first tech and innovation event of 2025. What are your thoughts and hopes for the market this year?
Well, I'm relatively optimistic. I cannot say that I'm optimistic without reservations, but initial checks are showing a little bit better traction, a little bit faster rounds, a little higher valuation. So all in all, there is optimism around VC community. I work with several VCs, GPs, private equity firms, and accelerators, and the mood is getting a little better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you think it's been a pretty challenging market last year. Do you think we're going to see more deals on the venture side, or is it going to be more heavy private equity and acquisition of distressed assets, or do you think things will start to turn around a little bit?
I certainly see that things are start turning around a little bit. I'm much closer to early stage VC community, and what really happened in the last 18 months is almost unprecedented in my experience. The rounds were announced but never closed, or
Mm,
the rounds were closed with the delay that didn't allow founders and startups even to survive.
wow.
In my 25 plus individual investment companies, there were less rounds, valuations were depressed, so to speak. But what really bothered me most was the fact that the rounds took inordinate amount of time. It's to the point when um, it took several weeks, if not months, between term sheet and actually money hitting the investment accounts of the founders. And cash flow suffered. There was really chain reaction all through the systems. LP did not have capital call money to put in, you name it. So
Wow.
it was quite challenging.
What would you say was the major driver? Was it just interest rates and money getting deployed in things that were safer? Was it the years of 0% interest rate, just, a crazy hot market that just couldn't survive the current fiscal climate?
Partially, and to the most degree, yes. I would say that people were sitting on sidelines, both institutional and even retail investors.
Hmm.
A lot of dry powder, and nothing happened. I don't necessarily understand why, because as well know, being contrarian investor myself, that was the best time to invest.
Yeah.
Those opportunities don't come along too often, so I was fairly actively investing myself.
Interesting.
But since I'm very small fish in a large pond, I could not move the needle for some of my founders.
Wow. What's the Warren Buffett quote? Be greedy when people are afraid. Be afraid when people are greedy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I love it.
I'm with you on this one.
I like it. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know we didn't hop up into much of an intro, but I know you've been a technology executive for over 25 years. You call yourself semi-retired. You're involved in a lot of venture groups. Does that span Chicago-based communities, or kind of globally, or where are you most active and in what sectors?
I would like to call myself global investor and very cosmopolitan in nature. So I'm originally from Minsk, Belarus, but I live in Chicago for the last 31 years, which is not small change. So I can say I proudly wear those colors, right? So I've been doing a little bit of corporate work early on, but found it extremely boring. Got all the way to director of database services for large real estate investment trust in downtown Chicago. Graduated from corporate world in 2007, as I like to say, and was managing partner of two global technology services companies, IT services. Worked in Eastern and Western Europe. Worked in Far East, especially particularly Vietnam. So had exposure to various cultures, various ecosystems, communities, and since some of my partners were in Silicon Valley, I got this startup bug about 12, 15 years ago. Started investing mostly in IT services and SaaS firms, and then sort of uh, another graduation from being managing partner of one of mid-size IT services companies, and started doing what I call investments 2.0, meaning early stage, about seed rounds. Definitely not just in Chicago. If I count my investments and put it on the map, I would say probably there is higher concentration in Silicon Valley than anywhere else, which
Probably
is
makes sense.
quite understandable.
Yep.
But my investments geographically range from Nashville to New York to Berlin to Baltic states and Scandinavia.
I love it.
Yeah, and yeah, so I basically explore certain firms and certain themes without being momentum investor. I consider myself contrarian investor.
Got it. What do you consider the current state of innovation and venture and tech in Chicago? You know, there was a big movement, you know, Google and all these companies opened up offices there. Maybe they were sales offices since there's a strong concentration of advertising agencies in Chicago as well. But what would you say is the general state of innovation and tech in Chicago or in the I guess what they call it, the Silicon Plains or something like that? I can't remember.
Regrettably, it can be better.
Hmm.
That's I can say. There are certain factors, and I don't want to talk about politics, but it's got to be a little bit more of political will,
Hmm.
on
You
the
have to
state level,
incentivize that kind of activity.
on the state level, on the
Yeah.
city level. There are, of course, of other factors, and some of this are mostly related to perception. Some of those are real. There are definitely uh, good venture capitalists in Chicago area, good groups. I'm part of Chicago Archangels, which is small group in Chicago doing angel investments. I'm quite familiar with community and ecosystem, but most of my deal flow comes from elsewhere, and
Mm.
that's the truth of the matter. There are definitely some better deals that can be found on the coast in Austin. Nashville is coming up really strongly.
Interesting.
Plus, for from my very limited perspective, I would say I'm betting on a jockey, not on a horse.
Hmm.
So for me, much more important is the founder and the team than some of the themes that are high up and momentum driven.
Yeah, no, I like that. So we're here at TechCon in San Diego. Great place to come and thaw out from the Chicago cold. I understand that you're speaking on a panel today. Is that correct?
Correct.
Nice. What is the topic today?
Well, it's really without even remembering exact topic as its title. It's how do you. It's more about the founders. How do they get to fast outside check? How it's gonna come from, where it's gonna come from, what exactly founders have to do to attract outside investors. And being a little provocative on this topic, do they really need outside investment? Do they really need this fast check? I'm always asking the founders this question: What is going to happen if you cannot raise the round?
Interesting. Yeah. So is
It's
that the topic of bootstrapping, or is that how
uh,
much of their own money they're putting in?
well, the topic would not be about bootstrapping, but that's something I just want to give you advanced preview of what I'm planning to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
When 2025, it doesn't take a lot of capital, a lot of money now to start company,
Yep.
to start new venture. It's really remarkable because you needed so much money 10 years ago, but now times changed.
Yeah. Are you a fan of this movement of the codeless programming, like people learning how to use AI to build MVPs and trying to do things without a technical co-founder or CTO in the beginning?
I'm not big fan of doing that without technical CTO, but I'm a fan of doing it in a lean fashion,
Hmm.
meaning that you don't uh, need to build a whole lot of stuff to start checking if the idea is legit and valid.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What level of traction are you looking for at the angel level before you're willing to cut a check?
Um, I'm trying to avoid um, pre-revenue companies. To be honest,
Sure.
I would like to have them some traction at least. It can be um, beta clients. It can be something in pilot mode. But I just want to make sure that idea is legit and there are people who are willing to pay for this at least. So if we're taking Y combinators and such out of equation, I would like to see around 100 to 250K perhaps in ARR
On the
as
books.
as a starting point. But I'm not really married to those numbers. It being opportunistic, right?
All comes down to the
But
team.
yes, but it's really seed round. It's not pre-seed
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
not Series A either, right? So it's it's really fairly precise stage, despite the fact that valuations in Silicon Valley, even when suppressed, are still too high in my opinion.
Interesting. You hear any interesting pitches so far this weekend?
Uh, haven't had a chance yet, but I will today. Yes,
Nice.
I have some people who might try to help as mentor and advisor, so I'm gonna give them some time and some love, of course.
I, I,
Needing feedback.
I like it. Well, Alex, anywhere you would like to point the audience and how to connect with you if they want to get in touch or potentially pitch you a deal, pick your brain?
I would say just connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
That's the easiest. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Alex, thanks